You are now tuned into Flippin the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 92 of Flippin the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron. He's Morgan Burkett, and we're back. Football is finally back in general. Eagles do have a preseason game coming up this Thursday against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm excited, man. How you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm fired up, man. Football's back. It's the best time of the year. You know, you got fantasy drafts on the horizon.
Oh, yes.
It's an exciting time, you know.
How many fantasy leagues do you do?
I wasn't 3. I feel like I jumped out of 1. 3's a lot to manage. Like even 2,
it
it's
really
like
is.
Your player. Yeah. But
especially if you do different platforms. What platforms do you guys use?
Like me and my buddies use Sleeper, and then we use Yahoo, right? On the PSN one, I think.
I want to say yes. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. I feel like Sleeper's the best. Shout out Sleeper. They do a really good job.
I've never used it, but I use Yahoo a lot. And I one thing I love about Yahoo is I love the scoring system and how detailed it is.
Yeah. I'd say it's second place for sure. I use it for basketball as well. So
okay.
It's decent. I did that this year for the first time. Fantasy basketball is like tough to manage as well.
It's very detailed, and you have to like manage lineups every freaking day. I'm not off. I'm good with football. It's weekly. Are you doing a keepers league or dynasty league?
Yeah, we're in year 5 of a keepers league. So
sick. All right, that's dope.
Yeah, I got. I've got it, and like I could keep him for a 15th, and it's just like damn. Because I was gonna keep other people, and I'm looking. I was like, why would I not keep Goddard? But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll get into it, but it sounds like might be split reps there.
Which is it's funny. I wrote an article about it, but it hasn't been released yet. Is let's dive into that first because I feel like it's a very touchy subject that hasn't been talked about much. But the Eagles did not make a move on Zach Ertz this offseason, which is it's no surprise to anybody right now because he's on the team. Dallas Goedert though said he wants to be the man. Dallas Goedert came into this offseason already prepared mentally, thinking like, hey, I'm the guy. Like this is my my position now. Nobody else is. I'm the big dog. But then shows up a blonde Zach Ertz to training camp saying, hey, I'm still here. And it's like, how do you manage that? I mean, you have this, a kid that could be a perennial talent versus a guy who was a great talent and still, could be decent on the field, at least, if he's used right. Like how can the Eagles manage that in a way where it's not limiting their offense? You can't have them both on the field at the same time this year.
Well, I think it fits. Like more and more I read into it, I feel like it fits with the MO of the new coaching staff, right? Like they're going to make everyone earn it. I think that they don't want anything handed to any of these players. So I like the move of keeping him, even if it is just to push Dallas, to start earning those reps a bit more. So I feel like he is one of those guys where if you just say you're the guy, I mean, I don't want to dive into it at all, but you see him take some reps off and like all that stuff. And really the key is consistency. So if you hand a guy like that the job where consistency has been the issue, sometimes those mistakes just kind of multiply. But the other thing too is with Ertz, it sounds like with training camp, and I know everyone's reading the same reports, but it sounds like he and Ertz are really showing some chemistry early, and it makes sense. Like Ertz is one of those guys that just is a quarterback's best friend, even if he's not making yards after the catch. And in an offense, what seems like is going to be more dink and dunk, move your way down the field. I think we maybe overlooked how important, for all the same reasons I've been saying Greg Ward should make the team. And you've been saying, okay,
how does he make it onto a podcast again? He is the most consistent person on this podcast right now.
we should probably switch the name. We can add another head to the
Flippin the Words.
Yeah, exactly. But like similar, you're saying like, okay, he's the Zach Ertz of the receiver core, and I was saying why he's important. Well, similar. I mean, it's Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
So I'm not upset with the fact, but you're right. I feel like squeezing them on the field, it might be split reps as opposed to 12 personnel.
Well, here's my fear. So you have, all right, if you run 12 personnel, and feel free to correct me at any point, because I'm still getting used to the language of these things.
For sure.
If you have 12 personnel, that means you have 2 tight ends on the field. You have 1 running back in the backfield, and you have 2 wide receivers. Don't you feel like that's limiting the firepower when you have player like Quez Watkins burning up training camp, literally? Then you have, Travis Fulgham, who's a big body receiver and can probably move better than Ertz can when after the catch. You have all these dynamics, and I feel like, yes, you want the best players that you have on the field. You want your best guys in the game, crunch time, whatever. When the game is on the line, you want them taking the ball. But at the same time, I feel like you're really limiting the capability of Jalen Hurts in this offense if you have 2 tight ends versus just a 1 tight end and a three wide receiver set.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point you make. It's similar to, the running back conundrum too, where you don't want a guy that's just a one-trick pony. You want a guy that can do a lot of things. Well, exactly, right? So there's a reason why, people aren't as high on Ertz as Eagles fans are, right? Like, we know what he can do. We know what he's capable of. But is he a Travis Kelce? Is he even a Darren Waller? He doesn't really have that explosive element. But I think that's where you're going to see, some creativity with the offense. I'd hope. But, if a team's training for, Goddard the whole time, and then Ertz the whole time, or vice versa, and then you do end up seeing them both on the same field at once, at least it's going to create some mismatches, you hope. So
absolutely, yeah, I get that.
You might see his snap count reduced. I think, though, that, like, as high as I am on him, I don't think Greg Ward's an 80% of the snaps kind of guy. Like, that's who's going to lose those reps. I'd love to see Travis Fulgham in the slot too. So maybe
I would love to see a big body receiver. So, all right, moving away from Ertz and Goddard, because we did share our opinion on that so far. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about tomorrow. I'm sorry. Let's talk about Thursday. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the wide receiver show, in my opinion, because you have JJ Arcega-Whiteside, who you need to see what he can bring on the field, and we know he's infamous and doing good in the preseason. Mm-hmm. But he's also a big body receiver that Sirianni typically likes to have in his offense, hence the Michael Pittman. You have Travis Fulgham, who's a big body receiver, and he's finally healthy. And I guess you could really say the demons are past what happened last season. But then you have John Hightower, who he doesn't bring anything that anybody else on this roster already doesn't bring. He's not the fastest wide receiver. Quez Watkins is, and Jalen Reagor possibly is a bit faster as well. And he's not a huge playmaker. I think that's more Devonta Smith, Travis Fulgham, and Jalen Reagor. Then he's not a consistent hand. That's Greg Ward. So I feel like the big battle is between, do the Eagles keep this big body receiver in Arcega-Whiteside, or they practice squad Hightower and risk losing him because somebody's going to pick him up. It's he's speed. So that's my where my curiosity is leaning towards right now.
Yeah, I think I think to the dismay of a lot of people, JJ has a shot at the roster. Like, I don't think that anyone expected that after the last 2 years, but I mean, he does one thing and he does it well, and the Eagles don't really have a whole bunch of guys on the roster that can do that. You already see some injuries with Fulgham. You don't know it going into his, going into this season whether or not he's going to be a repeat. You hope, all signs point to he is, but you need that extra guy on the roster. And I think that, unfortunately, those guys are harder to find consistently than sheer speed. You can pick up a guy with speed pretty much anywhere these days in the NFL. Yeah. That's really,
the Eagles did today with Mark and Michelle.
Exactly. Right. And that's an interesting pickup too. I feel like there's a lot more that we can gain from that pickup, but I know we're going to talk about that, but yeah, I think it's really a one-way battle between Hightower and Quez Watkins, and it seems like Quez Watkins is running away with that competition. I don't see Hightower beating him out for that. So it just depends on what the coaching staff is going to want, and having one guy. Well, I know that Devonta Smith is 6 feet, but essentially having one tall receiver on the roster, it's not going to cut it in today's NFL. You need a couple of guys. So, yeah, he might have an outside shot at making this roster.
So does the Quez Watkins breakout? Let's call it that. You know, it's not the season yet. Does the Quez Watkins breakout really surprise you? I mean, I have a friend of mine that's close to the situation where they said Watkins was kind of outcasted last year by Wentz. He wasn't, there was no communication between the two, which, Watkins did start the season injured, didn't play much at all, but Watkins did gravitate towards Jalen Hurts. And it's showing now that chemistry, that relationship that was built all last season leading up to what we're finally seeing now. Watkins, to me, he's a great route runner. Not elite or anything of that sort, but he's really damn good at that. And he had moments last year where he beat his man and Wentz didn't see him at all. He has the speed. Like, the kid is a blur. We saw that against Arizona. So is this really surprising what we're seeing at Quez Watkins right now with all the hype?
I mean, I don't really think so. I mean, anytime you have a rookie with that kind of up and down year, you expect a bit of a jump. And I think he's just taking his opportunity. It's a young receiver core. And clearly to this coaching staff, first round pick, second round pick, late round pick, they don't care. They'll give you opportunities. So that's got to be exciting for a guy like him. It's unfortunate that it seems like Hightower hasn't made quite the same jump. I think that does
he look like he's not too into football?
Well, I think last year, I know there was reports in the offseason that he wasn't too happy about his playing time going down. But I think when you have a player like that, like really what his leg up over Quez Watkins was he's a bit more refined, maybe a bit smarter of a player. Well, guys are going to catch up, right? And the NFL hits you fast. So unless you got somebody else to bring to the table, I just think Quez Watkins hit the ground running and he's not looking back. Where he's going to fit this year, I'm not sure. I know he's kind of an outside, kind of an inside guy. So it's going to be tough to find playing time, but I really hope they get him on the field.
I think it's gonna be incredible to see the moment where we have Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, and Devonta Smith all on the field, because at that point the Eagles are trying to burn you, and then come back where Watkins comes out, you have Fogelman, you have Warden. No, at that point the Eagles are trying to make something happen close to the ball. Like, it's so crazy, the depth of this team, something that we haven't had in such a long time. Like, to me it's an incredible group of players that has been brewing for the past 2 years. Like, we've been kind of like, what's it called? We've been really picky with how he's drafts for the past couple of seasons, but it's all adding up now. Like, we're, Davion Taylor, Sean Bradley, big names that are growing big with the coaching staff, Kayvon Wallace, like, everybody's getting a name for themselves right now. And it's starting to add up as to what Howie was aiming for. And even with his defense, I mean, they signed guys for on the low, approximately like 10 mil altogether.
Yeah.
Anthony Harris, Steven Nelson. I'm excited. And I've been telling you guys for the past couple of weeks, I feel like this team is going to be a lot better than what people are expecting. And it's going to come from the defense, the defensive line. It's going to come from the offensive line and the run game. The run game is going to be very, very, very key this season.
For sure. For sure. I mean, what I wouldn't give to finally watch a team where defense is a strength again. I mean, there was some times where the Jim Schwartz defense was kind of riding the coattails of the D line, but I wouldn't ever really call it a great defense. I know the Super Bowl year we're doing really well, but really just filling in gaps behind that stellar defensive line. Whereas I think this year is going to be a lot more team effort. It seems like the offense, is having some struggles here and there in training camp, but I think a common comment is just how good the defense has been. So when you're going against a defense like that, iron sharpens iron. So, but yeah, I mean, then to your next point, the running backs, I know we got something to talk about there as well with the first depth chart, but another really interesting way to see how it plays out in the first couple of weeks. I know that Miles Sanders probably won't get much playing time. We'll see him in and out, but behind him, watching how the playing time's going to go is going to be really interesting. I really want to see Kenny Gainwell. That's going to be like I really want to see how Kenny Gainwell does. And I like the rest, just like vying for snaps, seeing what they can do. It's like, that's what that energy brings, right? That coaching staff is just like, show us what you can do. And like, man, when you give that to to running backs especially. They run hard. Like, it's going to be a fun preseason to watch for sure.
Are you surprised at all about the Jordan Howard talks? I mean, I know you mentioned before the podcast, Jordan Howard RB2 right now on the unofficial depth chart, but I'm actually happy to see this kid be rejuvenated with this team again, because him and Miles were a great 1-2 punch. I'm not a big Boston Scott fan, and I've expressed that many times.
For sure.
You have Jordan Howard, you have Miles Sanders, and then you have Kenny Gainwell. Like, to me, that's three dynamic running backs that match to what the New York Giants did in their Super Bowl season, where they had Ward, Jacobs, and Bradshaw. Right? Am I Bradshaw? I think yes. It was that three, and they were they pulled it off.
Yeah. I mean, again, like a lot of it's easier to see in retrospect, right? But I think that I mean, he makes a lot of sense for this offense, right? It's gonna be a one-cut scheme. That's what Jordan Howard's been doing his whole life. Put your head down, get some yards. We don't know where Kerryon's at. I know we
haven't heard much from about Kerryon this offseason for some reason.
No, I mean, it's tough when you don't really have contact practices. You hear a lot more about the receivers, and you had 1 or 2 contact practices, but yeah, I mean, who's ever going to be able to churn out those yards, and if Jordan Howard can do it, that's great. And then again, you've talked about it a lot of times, just a great pass blocker. And so you got a young quarterback. Key. Exactly. Yeah. So he might have the edge, man. Again, seeing Boston Scott. Now, this is another thing, and it might just be me reading into it, but one of the pros that Boston Scott is supposed to bring to the table is punt return, kick return value. And here they go signing another punt return, kick return specialist, and he's below Jordan Howard on the depth chart. I'm thinking maybe he's I don't think he's going to be cut. But I think
did you see who they put at punt return and kick return?
Of course, yeah. My man. Oh, no. Yeah. I saw the signing. Who's the number one guy?
It's so if I'm not mistaken, and if you're in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw Quez Watkins there.
Yeah, I like that.
And I want to say it was either Jalen Reagor or Devonta Smith was the other one.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Greg Ward was nowhere near there, which was great. But Boston Scott to me it was as well not near it.
It's interesting to me that you want Devonta Smith returning punts. I don't really like.
Isn't that super risky? I mean, they had Jalen do it last season.
Well, I think
Jalen did have that touchdown.
Yeah, but I think what you put Devonta Smith in there for is similar to what you had Greg Ward in there for, just to catch the football. You'd be surprised how many times you get bad field position just because the guy didn't catch the football or didn't want to catch it in the air or didn't time it well and goes out of bounds, let it bounce. So you put a guy in like that. You're always going to rotate. I don't think unless you have Devin Hester on your team, you're always going to have the same guy in. It's situational football.
So the unofficial depth chart is Jalen Reagor punt return, Devonta Smith after him, Greg Ward after him. Kick return, you have Quez Watkins, Kenny Gainwell, and Jason Huntley. Boston Scott is nowhere on that list. But Boston Scott is RB3 right now. I'm reading this right. Yeah, RB3.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think he's cut, but I don't know if you see him on special teams anymore, and if he can't bring that value, this might be his last season. I hope not. I really do see him upset.
They compared him to Derek Sproles a little bit too much. I mean, to Darren Sproles. My fault. My apologies. I
mean, that's an easy comparison too, though, right? With the height and
just because they're small. But Darren Sproles was lightning in a bottle. Like that guy, every time he touched the ball was just a blur.
Yeah.
Similar to Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's a great comparison. But I don't know, man. Like I think that it might not be solved. I mean, obviously it's not going to be solved this Thursday, but we're going to get a really good glimpse about how this offense. I mean, anytime you get a new coaching staff, the first preseason game is always electric. But running backs is going to be a big one. Tight ends is going to be a big one too. I know we were talking about that earlier. And then receivers, again, Devonta Smith is out. I don't know how much Reagor's going to play.
They probably won't play him too much.
Yeah, I know he's had a tough go of it this offseason, so I'd like to see him. But yeah, the lineup behind that.
You got to applaud his mental toughness because the kid has been through hell and back
100%.
for the last two years. I mean, to be drafted in Philly, automatically could be doomed as a bust because he wasn't Justin Jefferson. To go through
this guy has Timmy Jernigan with the gold chain energy, where like everyone's like, "Oh, he's not good, he's not good," and then
it's the ski mask energy all over again.
Ski mask, yeah, that that energy is unmatched. There's a reason why it's my Twitter picture, because you just can't match that energy. I feel like Jalen Reagor is taking names; he's coming for it.
So but what you also can't match is the fact that Howie, and again, we said this on a podcast multiple times. Howie's not the greatest GM. He's not. But you got to applaud the fact that he landed Jalen Reagor last year over Justin Jefferson. Mm-hmm. And then he landed Devonta Smith this year.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice 1-2 punch for the future, no matter who your quarterback is.
I think like we might look a lot different if they went Jefferson. I don't know if they go receiver. I don't know if
they wouldn't, because you think that Jefferson's is your guy like above all else.
Go even farther than that. He made Carson look good. Maybe Carson's still here too, right?
Carson couldn't even make himself look good right now, man.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
I'm a little angry about that still.
I mean, he made Kirk Cousins look good, and I mean,
he did, but he made Kirk Cousins look good because they had Adam Thielen, and everybody was focused on Thielen. They had Justin Jefferson in the position. He was a slot receiver mostly.
Yeah,
and he was just eating up yards because they weren't paying mind to him.
Yeah, and a better deep threat than people thought as well.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, people should have caught on to the fact that he was averaging almost to the fact that he caught for 200 yards in that big championship game. Sure. I mean, that's why I'm glad we have Devonta Smith. I don't care about the kid's frame. I don't care about the kid's what people are so down upon. Like, the kid's going to be something special just because we know what he's accomplished, and he still has that much more room to grow. Like, he's not no college player is a finished product, and I think a lot of people are not understanding that when these teams draft these young guys, Jalen Reagor is not a finished product. Jalen Hurts is not a finished product, which is a huge misconception. The fact that Jalen's been left off so many top 40 quarterback lists, so many top quarterback lists, whatever case may be, Jalen Hurts is not a finished product. At the end of his career, he's going to be either the Deshaun Watson type of player, or maybe, I can't see him falling low as to a player that ends up being a backup to anybody.
Well, I mean, typical of Philly media too. You have a guy like Jalen Hurts, and then you have a guy like Tua, who, again, up and down. Maybe the stats are a bit better with Tua, but he didn't have the Saints game. He didn't have a game like the Saints game. Didn't have a game like the Cardinals game. To put on his resume, and I don't know. Like, it's just a hard place to play. It's a hard place to grow. So, I feel like in general, like there's something to be said for winners. Guys that just win, and he's a guy that won wherever he went. Yeah. Another like Devonta Smith as well, just wins.
Yep.
So I think you see those guys, like, everyone kind of counted Baker Mayfield up, for example, but that guy he found a way eventually. Obviously, they made some upgrades, but there's a lot of stories like that where it's not necessarily the best talent or the guy that shows out first, but it's the proven winners that will find a way eventually to keep growing. So I think, it's unfortunate. I think there was a comment earlier that kind of summarized it well, and you brought it up too. It's just I think that Howie did a good job of getting potential, and then just had a coaching staff that didn't teach potential that well. You know what I mean?
I think that's the comment you're looking for from Isaac.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect way to summarize it. Now you have a coaching staff that really wants to grow talent, wants to feed competition, isn't just going to give it to the veteran they know. So yeah, it's exciting for sure.
So before we move into preseason talk, like I said, the Eagles will face the Steelers this Thursday. We do have a question in the chat, and it's from we have two questions in the chat and a donation. So shout out to Swaggy G for the $2 donation. We appreciate it. First question though. It's from our guy, Mr. Kangaroo himself. You gotta change your name, Jay. It has to be Jay, like Jake Fizzleroo.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. Something. But speaking of unfinished product, why is everybody trying to move Dillard? I think we possibly like 2 or 3 podcasts ago, we mentioned the fact that possibly the Eagles could move Dillard inside at guard. Because with Kelsey retiring, you have to have somebody that's going to play center, whether it's Dickerson or Sayamalu. Right. Dillard is not he's not a finished product, and he could possibly be a better player inside next to either Mailata or on the other side if they move Brooks to Lane Johnson. What do you think?
Well, I think this is like a 2-part question. One is, are we going to move on from him? And 2, if he stays, how do you use him? And the first part is, I don't know if his value is ever going to be higher, because either he's a first round tackle, or you keep him, you bump him to guard. Now he's a guard, right? There's a lot of value there for a first round tackle that has upside. Versus you keep him for if he's great, fantastic. Either way, you might not be able to re-sign him. And if he's not great, then you have no value for him. So I think that's what it is with why we're trying to move on from him. I think that the issue that he's having, what I've read, everyone's reading the same things, is just having trouble with bull rush, right? That's really, he's getting pushed back. And when you have a guy who's a pass blocking specialist and he's getting knocked on his butt, it's not a good sign, you have a guy who's more of a run blocker, and he gets into his pass set and starts getting knocked over because his feet, you can work on feet, right? You can work on all these things. And Dillard came in and added a lot of muscle. I'm sure he's faring better than he did in the past, but if he's still having problems with the bull rush, then it doesn't fare well for a starting left tackle. And the way that I think that the solution in the past was you move him on the right side. But in this day and age, pass rushers are on both sides, right? You can't just hide it there. So then, you look at moving him to guard, and then you're talking about a guy who, really doesn't have that much of an upside as a run blocker. So there's a project. And when you draft a left tackle in the first round, you don't really expect a project. So
especially when you trade up for him.
Well, exactly. So he's giving with the Eagles. Fantastic. It's talent. You love to have talent in the building, but I feel like you can push him to another team who's going to be able to spend more time developing that and maybe get some picks back, which would be awesome.
I think I completely agree with that sentiment. Even if this offensive line is deeper than it's actually been for the past couple of years. We have a lot of young talent. And Dillard is in the end all be all. If you move him, you still have guys like Jack Driscoll, and you still have Nate Herbig. You still have what's the
Sua Opeta?
Yes, I always forget his freaking name. You also have him. And you also have Landon Dickerson, who's rehabbing to get healthy. They're deep at offensive line. I would not be concerned with who they trade away or who's not on this roster going forward at that group, because they're so deep at it. The second question. So shout out to Swaggy G, who did donate $2 and has probably the dopest icon I've seen in a long time, with Darth Vader and the saber. What are your thoughts on Devonta Smith this year? So I'll let you shoot first. I'm gonna sip my whiskey while I listen to you.
All right. I think that it's going to be under 1,000 yards. I think that we're thinking he's going to have one of those like record-setting rookie seasons. I just don't think that the offense is built like that. I don't think it's going to be one of those offenses that loves to target one receiver, loves to scheme for one receiver to get open. Which when you're looking at Justin Jefferson's season, that's really what the Vikings became. I know you had to use in and out, and really it was just a one-man show with Dalvin Cook. So you have a team where defenses have to move up to cover the run, and then a guy is just flying by. So I think that setting records, maybe not. With Devonta Smith, I'm looking more at receptions, and if this guy can be a 6-7 reception a game kind of guy, then that's all you can really ask for, especially in an offense that really wants to move the football, really wants to be consistent. I don't think you're looking at a guy who is making insane plays, but is consistent. And that's what the Eagles haven't had for forever, is a consistent receiver since Alshon, kind of faded.
Yeah.
And that's really what we need is, we have a ton of guys that can take the top off of defense. What we need is a guy who's going to get you 5 to 10 yards every single time he touches the football. So that's really what I'm looking for. But yeah, I think 900 yards would be a great season. Not necessarily record setting, maybe a rookie record for receptions in the year. I don't know what that is for the Eagles, but that would be awesome. That's really what I see more catches than yards would be for me.
So when Miles Sanders was drafted, I was focused on the yards. I wanted the numbers from Miles Sanders. I wanted him to show out because that was my draft pick, and I was excited that the Eagles drafted him.
Right.
Right now I'm looking at Miles Sanders like his impact is numbers. That's gonna be his impact on his team. Devonta Smith is a different tier though, because Devonta Smith, I'm not looking at him for numbers. I'm not looking for him to put up 10 receptions a game and 200 yards. I'm not looking for that. Devonta Smith has a different job or a different purpose with this wide receiver group. His purpose is going to be the impact that he has on this group. It's a young group. he's gonna be called to be the leader. It doesn't matter that Greg Ward's been there for longer. It doesn't matter that Travis Fulgham's been in the league longer. It matters that you were the first round pick. The Eagles traded up for you, and you were the best wide receiver in college football for possibly the last 2 seasons.
Right.
Your impact to me has to be on the whole mindset of this group. It has to be on the mindset that guys, like, if you drop a ball, you get up, you go get the next one. It has to be on the mindset that, hey, if I'm gonna make plays, you guys got to step up and make plays.
Right.
That's the impact that I'm looking for. Do I think he'll put up numbers? Yeah, for sure. I definitely believe he'll put up numbers, especially with Jalen Hurts. But the key thing is he's gonna have to stay healthy. And 900 yards, I think, is very attainable for him. Yeah. Absolutely. But don't be down if he doesn't reach that, because look at the group as a whole more than just Devonta Smith.
100%. And I think, like, something you're getting at as well is how much of an impact he's going to have on Jalen Hurts. And maybe put it in a different sport. You have a great point guard, that's great, but when you have that power forward, that small forward that can run that pick and roll on the opposite side, it makes a huge boost in confidence, right? So having that receiver where he can get open, he can make catches for you. He can be your first read, he can be your last read. He'll find a way to get open. It's gonna have a huge impact on Jalen Hurts. So yeah, you're right.
His leadership above all else. So away from all that, let's talk preseason, because we're actually going to watch the Eagles take the field for an actual game against the Steelers. What do you think are let's go with 5 things. What are the 5 things to really watch out for against the Steelers this Thursday? So I'll let you take 1 and I'll take 2. We'll keep going back and forth like that.
All right. So I think that number 1 is really going to be who and how they play in the secondary. So I think you may see Slay, maybe not in the first game, definitely not and it's going to be different with 3 games. I'm not really sure how teams are going to play with that, but you may see Slay. Even if you don't, who's filling in for him? Where are they going? I know we talked about Zach McPherson. Is he going to be in the slot? Is he going to be outside? I know you like him in the slot, so seeing that, they might move him around. Avonte Maddox, where is he going to be? Who's going to take over for Kayvon? Is it going to be the Anthony Harris show where they're just kind of dropping back in single high? Is it going to be Adams? Or are we going to see Marcus Epps? So just seeing how that secondary functions, I think you're still going to see a lot of nickel and dime. So who's coming off the bench? Where are they going? It's just going to help put things into perspective. I don't think there's any other spot really that's such a question mark outside of one player, maybe receiver. But it's going to be really interesting. I think just as a whole, how they play secondary, we've heard a lot of good things out of training camp that they're a hard team to pass on. Again, it's been years. So just seeing good secondary play and who's playing there. I think, now we kind of have those 2 locked in players, but behind that, as far as I've heard, Zach's been killing it. So I'm excited to see him for sure.
So just a little tidbit to write off of where you said, something that stuck with me for the past 2 weeks is what Chris said, having Zach on the outside and having Steven Nelson on the inside. And I think that's going to be a dynamic move that the Eagles do make. I think Gannon is ballsy enough to do that, because then if you do that, you have Avonte Maddox as a backup, and Zach has been killing on the outside. I think that would be great to see. But I do agree that secondary is going to be an interesting spot to see. Second thing that I think is key to watch for is on the offense, the RPO. We saw it firsthand last season against the New Orleans Saints. Jalen Hurts rushed for 106 yards. Miles Sanders rushed for 114 yards. And we finally beat the Saints in almost like 3 seasons, 24-21. But you saw how dynamic it is to have Miles Sanders back there and Jalen Hurts with defense not knowing who's going to get the ball. Now you add into the mix Jordan Howard. You add into the mix Kenny Gainwell. You add into the mix Kerryon Johnson, possibly even Boston Scott with Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts, it's going to be key for him to master the art of the RPO, because you're looking back at what Cam Newton did Carolina Super Bowl year. They ran RPO all season, and he was really dynamic, and he held the ball a little longer than most, but it helped him read the defense a lot better. So if you're really trying to help Jalen Hurts progress, the RPO is going to be your best friend going forward. So I think that's something really, they got to really look into.
Got that quick release too, which is good.
Yeah.
We got a question about the secondary. So while we're on it.
So let's shoot back.
Yeah.
So shout out to Drew Johnson, who has a dope icon too. Goat Boy 06, 2 Eagles jerseys, the black and the white one together. So do you guys think we need more depth in the secondary? What do we have in the secondary? It's
yeah, I think
Zach,
this
Darius, Steven, Devonta Maddox,
Michael
Craig
Jaquette,
James, Michael Jaquette, but James is sidelined, so let's go with 5 right now.
Elijah Riley,
6.
They cut the
Josiah Scott. 7. So they're deep. It's just they're young.
Yeah. I think the name to watch there is Josiah Scott, and I don't know why I blanked on the name, but I wrote this when I was breaking down the corners. Is I know Avonte is great. We know what he can bring to the table. On and off the field with injuries. If you're looking for a guy that can play slot corner, maybe not a great tackler, but coverage guy, Josiah Scott, fantastic. There's a reason why he was an early mid-round pick. Definitely talented.
What did they give up? A 5th round pick from?
Not much, but
you sure?
Late round pick. But I think he was a 3rd round pick for the Jaguars.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, really good player. Michael Jaquette's another name to watch. I think with the Steven Nelson signing, I think it was inevitable. I don't think anyone's play on the team really caused that to happen. I think they were always in the market for a veteran corner. But I think that, I'm content, and I know the coaching staff is content just letting these guys kind of duke it out. And there's a lot of young talent. So I think I'm fine going into the season as we are. That's definitely a middle of the pack, if not above average cornerback duo. So if one of them goes down, I feel pretty comfortable that the rookies are going to learn really well behind those guys. And 2, we got a lot of talent. But I would say Zach, is the first guy off on the outside.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts a couple games on the outside with Nelson inside.
Yeah,
depending on who the Eagles are facing at that time. But it'll be good to see against the Steelers. What really stands out to me about the secondary is that the fact that Nelson, I think, only allowed 2 players to go over 50 yards last season in a terrible Steelers secondary.
Yeah.
All the rave about all season last year was that the Steelers had a terrible secondary.
Yeah.
And Steven Nelson was a part of that.
Incredible pickup by Howie. We're doubting him, but the offseason veteran pickups were ridiculous.
They were
just insane. We spend as much on all the players we picked up as the Giants spent on one receiver. So, great receiver, don't get me wrong, but we had
which just so happens to be injured right now, so things are not so good in the Meadowlands.
Exactly. 3 starters, 4 starters, a couple more potential starters. That's that crazy value. Okay, so going back, number 3. I think that I'm going to stick on the defensive side of the ball. And again, linebackers, another big question mark behind maybe the first 2 guys. I think that Alex Singleton, we've kind of assumed, is going to be that second guy. But I don't know that that's even guaranteed. So who is filling that role? And this is maybe going to piggyback onto my 5th one, but what formation are we playing, right? Are we seeing more stand-up rushers? Are we seeing more drop back and zone coverage? Are we seeing a rotation? So just seeing how that plays out. I know that we're really high on a guy we had on the podcast, Sean Bradley, how they're going to use him, the competition between him and Davion Taylor, who came in at the same time, where Ryan Kerrigan plays. I know that he had surgery, so he's going to be out, but Joe Osman is listed in there as well, who plays kind of a similar role. So just seeing how that kind of third linebacker is used, or possibly 4th. We might see some of the 3-4. I don't know if we're going to see that in the preseason. But yeah, just kind of how that linebacking core kind of works itself out. I know that they have Jannard Avery there right now on the unofficial depth chart.
Yeah.
I think one of the kind of overlooked surprises of the
because we haven't heard anything about Avery at all this offseason. It's such a weird unofficial depth chart.
Yeah,
very weird. So that's number 3. So number 4 is gonna be the key to the rest of the season. We're finally gonna see the Eagles' offensive line all together. They're all healthy right now. Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Seumalo, and Jordan Mailata, who won by default. I mean, he really won it by because he's freaking incredible. But that's going to be key. The fact that if this Eagles offensive line can somehow, some way stay healthy, they're going to really move the chains against a lot of these teams. I mean, you have the veterans on the right side. You have Mailata, who understands his position, and he's just a dog out there. And you have Kelsey leading the charge. I mean, it could really go far if all these guys can really stay healthy, stay on the same page. A lot of the miscues last season were due to an unhealthy offensive line, a lot of rotations. I mean, Javon Brown, he felt like it was more important to change to fix his glove than to protect the quarterback. So it's going to be very key to see this offensive line and see how far they're able to go with 17 games into the season. If they're healthy, then this is guaranteed a playoff team. If they even miss, like if one player goes missing, 2 players go down, like this team's not going to go far.
Yeah, health is going to be huge for this offensive line. But yeah, if they're healthy, man, you could fall forward for 5 yards. And with a guy like Miles Sanders was gashing teams with, a team full of backups in front of him. So it's going to be, a nightmare for teams to cover that and then cover possibly Jordan Howard, Kerryon Johnson, Kenny Gainwell. But offensive line wise, I don't see why this isn't a top 5 on offensive line if they're all healthy. Absolutely.
It should be top 3 in my opinion. It's the same group that went to the Super Bowl except for Mailata.
Yeah.
And the Eagles have not signed Jason Peters. Let's just throw it out there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's the thing, man. Is like this whole Jordan Mailata thing, like as it builds up, like it just gives me Jason Peters vibes. A guy like not the same, but move positions, didn't really play offensive line, had to learn it. And then just like a dancing bear, like so athletic for his size. I know that probably everyone saw the video of him just lifting Boston Scott. I know that's not a big dude.
Oh, that was hilarious. I saw my wife that video like 4 times. I just found it so funny.
Yeah, insane strength. You can just grab. Like
that was definitely me lifting Boston Scott off the roster.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that was my spirit animal right there.
Hey, if anyone's good at Photoshop in the chat, make that happen for Bryan.
Let's not do that.
New profile picture.
If somebody does that, I would make that my profile picture. I'll put that out there right now.
All right. Yeah, but just like a crazy story, man. I like one of those guys that I just love to talk to and just like see the process, what that's going. I feel like I'm doing 5, but we should do 6. Then we each get 3.
That's fine.
It seems like I'm staying defense too, and you're doing offense, so we can just keep it like that too. But yeah, like another thing, it kind of feeds into what I was saying as well. Is just like how this defense is going to function. Are we going to see 3-4? Are we going to see 4-3? Are we going to see a lot of dime nickel? You'll get a peek, but I think you'll get kind of an indication of what could be on the table. You won't necessarily see all the tricks, but even if we see any 3-4 in the preseason, that means they're going to bring it out in the regular season. We won't see. I know that even in the Steelers and Cowboys games, you don't see stunts, linebacker blitzes, house blitzes, but the Steelers brought it all, right? So with 3 preseason games, you might get a glimpse of really what's going to come, especially with a new defense. So I'm excited just to see what is on the table. A 3-4, I think that, we've dealt with 4-3 so long, we don't even think of the possibilities. But if we're a 3-4 team, we have a nasty, nasty pass rushing team. We got Kerrigan, we got Brendan Graham that can stand up. We got Jannard Avery. We got Josh Sweat even. I don't know if you really have him in a 4-3, but you could bump him inside on a race car. Like, it's just disgusting what we could do in a 3-4. We have a lot of those linebackers that are tweeners, that could pass rush. So just mixing and matching, it's going to be really exciting. It's going to, I don't know, just keep quarterbacks on their toes, which means us as fans watching, it's just going to keep you on your toes. That'll be exciting. Not knowing what we're doing every single third down, you know what I mean? Not seeing sticks coverage.
Oh, God.
Like that, right? So, yeah.
That's scarring. That's going to be scarring for Eagles fans for the next at least 3 to 4 years, which sucks because, it's funny. I woke up today. I'm like, damn, like we have Eagles preseason game. Damn, we don't have an arrogant Jim Shorts on the sideline.
Yeah,
I feel like
Gainon's got to go into sticks on 1 3rd down and just motion out of it just to get the heart racing a bit. Just line up.
Oh God, if they do that, my heart's gonna drop my ass.
Just get the heart pumping,
Oh God, please don't. All right, so number 6, It's gonna be the most important one, and it's gonna be one that we don't get much. We won't get much of a view on, to be honest. Jalen Hurts. It's gonna be key to see how he leads this offense on the first drive of the game. The
Yep.
Eagles for the first drive of the game in the last probably like 3 or 4 years, they have not been good at scoring. They have not been good at scoring in the first quarter. Period.
Yep.
If Jalen Hurts can start the preseason game and march down the field, whatever case may be, however many plays he has to run, if he can do that, take command of the offense and show like, hey, I'm more than what people are saying I am, it's going to be a huge building block going forward. Because
Absolutely.
as we remember, this team can never score in the first quarter. That was probably the most frustrating thing of almost every season in the last 4 years is their inability to score in the first quarter and grab the lead. So Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni taking on this new era where everything's different. You start the game with a good amount of run plays, a little play action here and there, a couple RPOs, and you just lead down the field. You gotta show that this is a progressing rebuild opposed to a regressing rebuild. That you gotta show that all the pieces are in the right place finally. And whether Jalen Hurts can or cannot do it, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna pay huge dividends to the rumors of Deshaun Watson, whether we like it or not. So Hurts on his one drive or his one quarter, whatever he plays Thursday, you gotta show up and you gotta lead your team down the field in the first quarter somehow, some way. If you're in the full quarter.
I think you nailed it, man. I think that's gonna be huge. You have a drive with a couple incompletions, but mostly throwaways, and you drive down the field. That's gonna be huge for the direction of this franchise. Whereas, God forbid,
it's been a weakness. I don't get it. Why?
Yeah, it's true, and it doesn't. And that's the thing is, it doesn't necessarily have to be on Jalen Hurts. And I think that in the past, like, it has to be on Carson, but just making the right throws, making your checkdowns when it's open, not missing swing passes to Miles Sanders who's wide open, like stuff like that. It can't happen in the preseason when you have less complicated defenses, guys that are coming off injuries, and guys that are backups and all this stuff. I think you make a great point, man. It has to be good. But yeah, and then even behind that, I think we haven't talked about it, but an interesting competition for QB2. I think it might be Nick Mullins, to be honest. I'm more comfortable with Nick Mullins, to be honest.
I was actually looking it up because I feel like we should talk about that, because Nick Mullins is so much more of a QB2 than I think Flacco would be. He has the arm. He's still young, so he has the coachability, opposed to Flacco's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, an MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and thinks the world of himself. Nick Mullins, obviously, I don't know the guy's character, but it's more ideal that you have these two young guys working side by side, opposed to having Flacco. You have enough veteran leadership with the coaches, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, either way, I feel like they're gonna take 3 quarterbacks. I think that all those guys are on the roster. It just makes sense. If you had the Jamie Newman on the roster, maybe you just take him as the third guy, or you let him be on the practice squad. But I think with these guys, they're all veterans to some extent. You're gonna have them all on the roster, but it'll be interesting to see. And again, God forbid that if Hurts takes some snaps off, who will be coming off the bench, and I think it might be Mullins. Even if it's just for the fact that he's a more versatile. I don't think you have to change the offense as much if he goes in. And you're talking about a guy who was one of the most efficient. Maybe I'm getting the stat wrong, but like rivaled Patrick Mahomes for the most passing yards in his first 10 starts. Like,
bro, he's a gunslinger.
Yeah, like a really decent quarterback. I know that didn't always turn out in San Francisco, but not a bad quarterback at all. You don't have to switch the offense for him that much, and a guy that was allowed to walk, and find a team. So I'm happy to have him for sure.
So if they cut Flacco, it'll be a cap hit of about $3.5 million. 2021 will be 1.5. 2022 will be 1.9. No cap savings. If they trade Flacco in 2021, it'll be a dead cap hit of $485,000. 2022 still be the 1.9. But they get a cap savings in 2021 of $1 million.
Yep. I think that you keep him on the roster, right? He's a veteran quarterback. having 3 quarterbacks, we've seen it before. It's a regular thing to have.
Mm.
But whether or not he's the guy that comes off the bench, I'm not sure. And then Drew, I apologize. I know it's not a great stat, but it does go to show that he's not just a nobody, right? I think that he's a guy that you hope comes in. Again, I think the difference is Mullins is going to make more mistakes. There's going to be a bit more growing pains. But yeah, I think you give the guy a chance. Another thing that will happen is based on how well Hurts plays and what you expect out of Hurts. If he's the guy, you keep the veteran, right? You keep the guy who's going to coach him.
Not only that, but like, so to kind of reiterate what you've been saying, Nick Mullins did take over for Garoppolo last season. Yeah. The 49ers won games with Nick Mullins. He's been with the 49ers for almost like 2 or 3 years, I think. They won games with him. He's been an efficient quarterback at times, even though he's been also just as much as an inefficient quarterback. But either way, like, all Flacco really brings is experience.
Well, that's what he really brings. I mean, Jay Fizzle in the chat again. We're gonna switch that name, I think, right, to Kangaroo Jack or something. But
I'm going. I gotta figure something out.
Yeah, but I mean, he makes a good point, right? If this happens again, like, I hate to even speak it into
existence. It's not gonna happen. This is not Carson Wentz.
Yeah, he's gonna be healthy, but if you're in the playoffs and you need a couple plays, who will it be? Because Joe Flacco does have that experience. I think there is something to be said for a veteran in the playoffs. They just have that edge. Defenses are really going to try and confuse you at that point in the season. So I think they're set up nicely, regardless of who that second player is. You got options. I think if it's early in the season, then maybe you see what Nick Mullins can do. But playoffs, it might be Flacco. And either way, both of them are great camp arms to have. They're talking about this on the live practice. Spadero was talking about how nice it is to have someone with so much talent throwing to the third team. Usually you get a guy who's, again, Jamie
experienced.
Newman. And makes mistakes, wrong reads. And now you got, guys like JJ Arcega-Whiteside, John Hightower. I think they might even be second team. But, all those guys getting great quarterbacks, great looks, great reads. So it just makes the team better. Talent makes the team better. As simple as that.
I completely agree. Now we got about 8 minutes left on the podcast. Oh God. Sorry, Alex, to hear that. Alex is one of our main followers. Hope you feel better, brother. I mean, you
absolutely, man.
You could definitely beat this, and I'm sorry to hear about your mother.
Sending prayers.
I said, that's a lot.
So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate that as well. Taking time.
And definitely stay in touch with us. I mean, I think me, Chris, and Morgan, we all expect to see your name pop up, just like we expect Jay Fizzle's name to pop up all the time. So we're praying for you, brother. Godspeed, man. Have a good night and feel better, man. Honestly. So before you wrap up, one player that you think everybody should keep their eyes on Thursday night.
I think it's gonna be the tight end 3 position, and I don't want to put a name.
You want to say Tyree Jackson? That's what it is.
I do. And I think that there's a lot of hype on Stoll as well, but just those guys again. Is Ertz going to play much? Probably not. Goddard, probably not. So that tight end 3 position is up for grabs, and I really think that Tyree's been making some waves in training camp from what I've heard. I'm excited to see him. I think that he's a guy to keep your eye on for sure.
Okay. I'm gonna go with my guy. I'm going Kenny Gainwell because if he's buried that far deep into the depth chart, excuse me, he's gonna play the second half. And he's probably gonna play some, a lot of reps in the second half. So my guy to watch is gonna definitely be Gainwell to see how the offense uses him, whether it's receiving or whether it's running the ball. You got to see how dynamic this kid really is. He did take off last season due to COVID. So it's gonna be good to see if he can shake off this rust and actually show off. That's why the Eagles drafted him so early.
Yeah, I think alternatively on the defensive side. Milton Williams, man, I'm fired up to watch him play. that's going to be exciting too. I think that he's going to dominate some of these backup guards and centers. Like it's going to be nasty. It might be the homecoming for him.
He's a freak of nature, man. He definitely is a freak of nature.
Ridiculous. Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Well, I mean, that does it for this week's episode of Flipping the Birds. Chris,
you want to shout out the watch along too, eh? Because you guys are doing the watch along too.
So first and foremost, Chris did miss this episode because he's spending time with his family. He's in Philadelphia right now. And Thursday we're actually having PSN is having a watch along led by Liam Jenkins. I may be showing up. Maybe Morgan showing up. So you're gonna see the PSN team very involved in that to talk to all you guys. And we thank you guys for joining in for another live episode. Again, huge shout out to Alex. Condolences for everything you're going through right now, man. And thank you guys for joining us. I'm Brian Cameron. He's Morgan Burkett, and we're Flipping the Birds.
Have a good night, guys.
Yes, sir.